key points from last week. And so I much rather spend time talking about the key points from last week and making sure that we're good rather than you guys doing a warm up and still kind of missing from last week. So here's what I want you guys to do. Um, One, as we talked about on Friday, the class we went outside, right? So we was outside. You guys got a small opportunity to kind of see how my class looks like as it relates to like how it's supposed to really be like, which is us kind of having a lot of freedom as far as taking care of things that we need to take care of, but working with somebody. If you want to work with somebody, listening to music, doing your thing. But the idea is that I'm a young adult. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know why I'm doing it. And so it's not so much you waiting for me to tell you this and that. You kind of understand what it is that we're doing. So here's the conversation. All right, so last week, what is it you guys were supposed to have gotten out of last week?
How to match like the word to a definition.
And put it in the sentence. No.
He's asking us what did we get out of that? Not what did we do.
Okay, well let's do this. I'm gonna have to be very specific question. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna just throw you out there to the like that. All right, first question. We have to make sure. Watch this. All right, so like you say, New Brunswick. Boy, I like that on I like that. I'm saying like your posture. You change your posture. I know that y'all don't realize this. I just don't say a lot of things. I'm very, very observant. So I'm observant is that he wasn't looking at me when I started talking. So then I came back here to see if he was going to change his posture. I passed by his computer, minimized the window, just so he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. And I came back here and I turned to look at me. So you missed all of that. That basically tells me that when I was up there talking, he was ignoring me and doing whatever it is he was doing. Because now he's actually looking at me and changing his position. Am I right? See? All right. And I don't have to say all of that. I don't have to go, hey, Alejandro, what you doing? I know what he's doing and what he's not doing. That's why I came back here to make him do that. All right. So last week, one, what did the Germans, we heard about Germans and we talked about ethnic groups. All right. What were the three groups of people that we talked about? German being one.
German, African Americans.
African Americans, and number three was no, what they call it? Tejano. Okay, as I said, look at number three. That's what I said.
Oh, you're talking about that.
All right. So we talked about Tejanos, Mexican Texans. We talked about African Americans, whether they were slaves or whether they were free. Okay. And then we talked about Germans. So in these three groups, which ones? I'm going to go back down. I just want to let this person in real quick. In those three groups that we had, which ones had a positive experience?
German.
All right. Any others? All right. Cool. Excellent, guys. Perfect. So last week, what you guys should have got out of the conversation was one, the Germans had a positive experience. That means that Tejanos and African Americans had a what? Bad experience, negative experience. That is a test question. They want to know that you understood that if you were ethnic, if you were a minority, like a Hispanic, like, and later on we'll talk about different other groups, but right now, Hispanics and African Americans, if you were a minority, that you had a what? Negative experience. If you were Anglo or if you were white, you had a okay? At least in Texas. We're talking about specifically in Texas. Okay? Now, just so you guys just for general information, yes, there were other areas where whites were other Anglos were prejudiced against other Anglos. Just not here in Texas as much. Okay? So with that being said, here we go. Next question. Where did Germans actually go? New Braunfels, Texas. Can somebody tell me in what region of Texas is New Braunfels? Okay, let's take it back. Let's not worry about the region. Let's take it, let's throw it away for a second. What, if you had to move to Texas, what types of things would you be looking for as far as the land? What do you want the land to look like?
Fertile.
Fertile soil. You need sunshine, and you're missing one other thing. You need water. So again, you're moving to Texas, and you look at the different parts of Texas, you're looking for a place that has lots of water, Texas has sun, and then good land, good soil. Why are these three things important? Because you are a farmer, agriculture. Okay? So, do y'all remember what region of Texas has the most water, fertile soil, and sun?
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Okay, coastal plains. Cool. Coastal plains. All right. So then we can kind of figure out that New Braunfels. Without seeing the map, we kind of know then New Braunfels is probably going to be located in where? Coastal plains.
It's just weird because like when you look at it like a map of like a zoomed in map of Houston and you see New Braunfels, it feels like New Braunfels is farther, but when you zoom out and you look at a map of the whole Texas,
Yeah.
it's not that far.
New Braunfels
Schlitterbahn.
is actually you get to New Braunfels before you get to Austin.
Yeah, so it's Austin, San Antonio, Dallas. And the thing is, I looked at my GPS when I was in Austin. Austin is an hour away from Dallas and an hour away from San Antonio.
See, oh, by the way, so here's a little map that might help you. Here's Austin, New Braunfels, like where my finger is.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
So, you see how many rivers we have in the coastal plains?
I think I passed.
Coastal plains, rivers, lots of rivers.
Irrigation.
Lots of rivers. Coastal plains is the red one. The red one has all the rivers. See, look, see, I'm showing you close. See which one has all the rivers on those squiggly lines? Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So we got, so anyway, everybody, that's the main thing I want to get you guys to get from last week was who had a positive experiences, who had negative experiences, check. Where did the Germans go? Coastal plains because of the rivers, because of the soil, check. And then lastly, that deals with society. So that's all that deals with the left side of our foldable. Real quick, let's end this conversation talking about the right side of our foldable, which was the economy. So there was two economies that you got last week. What were the two economies?
Plantation.
Plantation and ranching. Plantations and ranching. Now, what was the main thing when I was on the board? I believe I tried to do it on Thursday or Friday, and I had some stuff on the left side of the board, and I had some stuff on the right side of the board. What was the main thing that I was trying to show you guys? Plants and animals, and they were what? Opposites. And over here we had plants, coastal plains, and over here we had ranching, and then we had Great Plains. Because in the Great Plains is where all the grass is, and you need grass because the animals eat what?
Grass.
So I can have lots of cows and cattle because all they're gonna do is walk around and munch on the grass. Okay, so ranching was really big in the Great Plains, whereas farming was good in the coastal plains. Okay, so that's how they make their money. So if you're coming to Texas, you're probably gonna make your money from one of those two things.
When I was going to Austin, I saw a bunch of cows.
Really?
The thing is, you never see cows that actually are black and white. They're all like brown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The symbolic farm animal with the little
For
milk.
real?
Yeah.
Austin is like news.
All right. Well, that's the main thing, everybody. We can go ahead and move on. So the one for the day really was just getting you guys to understand the difference between one, the experience of the different groups in Texas, and then two, how that then means for the economy, ranching versus plantations. I don't know if you guys remember that, but let's do this before let's end on this note. Let's do this. Let's write. I'll have you guys submit this to me. I want you guys to fill this out as a class real quick. And let's do the difference between agriculture and versus ranching. All right, so I'm gonna give you one clue, and then you give me the opposite clue. So for instance, if I give you the one clue I give you, if I say coastal plains, then what's the clue you're gonna give me? Great Plains. I hear, thank you, Alejandro. Great Plains, boom. All right, so I'm gonna give you one side, and then you give me the opposite. All right, if I say livestock,
Plants.
you're gonna say cash crops, plants. Very good. All right, cool. Cash crops, plants. All right, if I say ranchers, the people.
Cowboys.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm sorry, you're right. Y'all are right. I'm wrong. Y'all right. Cowboys. If I say cowboys, then what's the opposite of? It wasn't ranchers. It was farmers and who? Who? It was farmers, and who did farmers have that was so? Not bad. I like we going with that. Slaves. Yeah, maybe we talked about that. No, to have. There we go. Slaves. Perfect. Okay, cool. So these were the people who were doing these activities. So you have farmers, but most of the farmers actually had slaves doing the work. All right, last thing. Location. We talked about Coastal Plains, Great Plains, but if I said the location was a ranch or ranching,
Great Plains.
then what do we call a place where the farming took place? Plantation. Very good. Plantation. So what are we doing, everybody? Just making sure that you understand, as it relates to the money or the economy of Texas, you understand who was doing it, where they were doing it, and what was being done. So livestock is the what, the cash crops is the what, the who is the farmers and slaves versus the cowboys, and then the where is the coastal plains or the plantations and the ranches. All right, good job, everybody. I think that brings us to, so when I ask you guys a test question, the test questions, it's only gonna be 15 questions. I just covered 3 test questions of the 15. I covered economy, I covered the experiences between the 2 groups, and I covered the location of where the Germans were going to be going and why. Coastal plains, because of the soil is what? Good, fertile soil. It's good for farming.
What's the test?
The test is like next Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, so we're gonna go over it so early, I'm gonna forget it.
We better want to write it down and I ain't going over it again. All right, here we go.
So many tests this week.
So I don't typically do what the teachers do, which is like wait till the day before the test and then try to do a review. I kind of try to review a small group throughout, and then you just know it. And then hopefully you talk to friends and then y'all can kind of get it. All right, everybody, moving on. This week, so this week we are talking about Texas annexation. Let's look at the vocabulary word. What is it? Does anybody know what the word annexation means from last week?
Yeah.
The word annex means to add. So Texas was its own country. And if you look at the bottom of your foldable that you did last time, it said the Republic of Texas. The Republic means that it was its own country from 1836 to 1845. And what happened in 1845?
They were added to the United States.
They were annexed.
Annexed.
You're right. They were added, but our vocabulary word says same thing. So they were annexed into the United States. So in 1845 is when Texas became a state of the United States. So this week, we're going to learn kind of the story behind how Texas became a state. All right. So today, we're going to watch a quick brain pop video. And then you guys right here, this is the vocabulary choice board. This is for your vocabulary assignment. You can pick one of these. You don't have to do all of them. So it's your choice. If you want to do a crossword puzzle, vocabulary pyramid, write a song or a poem, act it out, illustrate a dictionary, or create a game. You can pick whichever one you want to do.
And we have to use all those words.
Yep, all the words right up here. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unless you do a crossword puzzle or a game, then you have to do last week's words and this week. Because to do a crossword puzzle with 6 words.
I'll do it.
No, but I mean, I want a crossword puzzle gonna have more than 6 words. Is what I'm saying. So it's just you're just adding on the other ones from last week. Which some of them I think
Annex is from this week and last week, so it's kind of not even that new. All right. When does this due? Whenever you do it. Hopefully today.
Oh,
But you're not trying to get into me. You know what I'm saying? I told you, right? So vocabulary
it's for you.
is for you. So I'm giving you a creative way to do it.
Are we getting graded?
No, because it's like a study guide.
Man, I told you, so that's why I said in my class, y'all shouldn't do things for grades because y'all aren't pets. You know what I'm saying? Like a pet is like, hey, dog, sit. And he only sits because you got to train him doing what? Giving him what? A treat. You mean treat you like that, like a little pet? Oh, you want to hit for a grade? Here you go. Hold on, hey, sit. Here you go, Fanta. Sit. Oh, good Fanta, good Fanta. Right? No, I'm not going to do that to y'all. So every assignment I give you guys is not so much for a grade. Here's a grade. Here's a grade. I don't want to hold that over y'all's head. I'm trying to get you guys to understand how high school and college work. They're not going to grade every assignment, but you understand the value in the assignment because one, I'm not going to give you things that's going to waste your time. I'm just not going to give you an assignment. So anything that I give you is for a reason. And the reason why we do vocabulary is so that way when you get to a test, you start seeing them keywords like cash crop, you go, oh, okay, I know what that is. It's just plants. Cool. All right, here we go. So we got a 5-minute video on brain pop, and then I'm done. That's all I want. That's my main thing today. Was just to recap kind of what were the big nuggets from last week. So that way you kind of understand, you know, where you were supposed to kind of remember, and then watch the brain pop, and then how you guys just kind of do your thing. All right, here we go. Brain pop, and we're done for the day. Sharpen your pencil, I guess. Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, they got them over across the hall. And I told you I don't have a sharp. I mean, I told you last week I don't have a pencil sharpener, but they do it across the hall. And across the hall, right there.
You walk all the way across the hall just to sharpen it.
It's just across. Just open the door and you walk through the next door, right there where you always be. Yeah. She be there every day, like across. I'm like, where is that? Across the hall, like literally just across. All right. Yeah, because she sits there every day. I'm like, you don't know what I'm talking about?
Dear Tim and Moby, what happened during westward expansion? From Remy. Well, Remy, during the first half of the 19th century, the United States grew at an amazing rate. In 1803, the government bought a huge amount of territory from France. It added Texas in 1845, and a year later signed a treaty with the British for control of the Pacific Northwest. The puzzle was almost complete by 1848 when the U.S. took control of the Southwest after the Mexican-American War. The population was booming too. There were just 5 million Americans in 1800, but by 1850 there were 23 million. Well, lots of people thought that the United States had a special mission to spread democracy and civilization across the continent. This idea was called Manifest Destiny, and it's reflected in some of the art from the period. Take a look. The goddess is supposed to represent American progress. She's bringing telegraph lines, railroads, and white settlers into the West, and shooing American Indians and buffalo out of the way. No, I'm afraid it wasn't necessarily nice. And it didn't happen overnight, either. At first, most of the land was wilderness. That's why the original settlers were mostly trappers and mountain men. If you were tough enough to survive, you could make a good living trapping animals and selling their fur. These guys helped set up some of the first Western forts and trading posts. American Indians taught them safe routes across the deserts and over the mountains, and soon trails were mapped across the continent. Nope, the new areas didn't become states right away. At first, they were incorporated into territories. The territories had their own governments, but were basically controlled by the U.S. Congress. But as soon as enough settlers moved in, they could become states. To encourage this, many territorial governments offered an amazing deal. If you moved onto a small plot of land and farmed it yourself, you'd be given that land for free. This was called homesteading, and lots of settlers took advantage of it. But farmers weren't the only ones heading out west. The California gold rush of 1849 lured fortune seekers from across the world, and members of the Mormon Church flocked to the Utah Territory to escape persecution and violence. Well, the pioneers followed many different routes, but the most famous was the Oregon Trail. From the early 1840s onward, hundreds of thousands of people traveled these trails. The journey covered more than 3,000 kilometers and lasted around 5 months. To keep safe, pioneers traveled in wagon trains with dozens of families. Their covered wagons could carry 1,000 kilograms of food and supplies, but there was rarely any room for the pioneers themselves. Instead, whole families walked alongside their slow-moving oxen. Forts along the trail provided help and supplies, but it was still a dangerous trek. Accidents, bad weather, and diseases like cholera killed about 1 in 20 travelers. Actually, very few pioneers were harmed by American Indians. In fact, it was the pioneers' arrival in the West that posed a serious threat to the Indians' way of life. For decades, the government had moved Indians off their native lands so that white settlers could live there. Some, like the Lakota Sioux chief Sitting Bull, tried to resist, but their efforts were always squashed by the U.S. Army, which was bigger and stronger than any Indian fighting force. In the end, the Indians were forced to move to special areas called reservations. No, it wasn't fair at all, and it's definitely not a proud moment in our history. Well, things got a lot easier for the pioneers when the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869. All of a sudden, anyone could reach the West Coast in just a few days by taking the train. In 1890, most of the land had been settled, most territories had become states, and the days of the frontier were gone. Right, I guess they do live on in 8-bit computer games. So, you want to try going to Oregon again? Cool.
We'll say the word, and then we'll move make sure you guys kind of got understanding what it means, and we'll move on. We're done. We should have like 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, we should be good. All right, the word is ratified. So everybody say the word ratified. Ratified. Okay, ratified. That simply means to approve. All right, so it's just again, everybody, it's a simple word. It's just I know. It's like, why did it say approve? It's a government word, ratified. All right, next word, acquire. So everybody say acquire. All right, cool. That may be a word I think that you guys may already know what it means or may have used it before, but if not, it simply means to obtain or gain. To me, you could probably even say, but Coach Mosley knows the same thing as adding. Pretty much, it's pretty much the same thing to add, to get something. Okay. All right, manifest destiny, everybody. Say it again, manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny.
All right, cool. So only that means this is a little more complicated, but what it basically means is it's kind of crazy. Because it says a belief that Americans, and so when you think of the word Americans, yes, that means kind of like the majority of everybody believe this. Okay, so if I ask you guys, what country symbolizes freedom the most in the world? People would probably say the United States. Okay, doesn't make it true. Well, the idea is that's kind of the consensus. So back then, Americans believed, people who live in the United States believe that God, yes, that God, believed they had a right to all the land from sea to sea. So if we look at a map, what it simply means is from one side of the ocean to the other. So if I go to the United States, and you guys probably know this already, but there's 2 oceans on either side, right? And so they believe that they started off on this side, because that's the side closest to Europe when they moved over here. They believe that God told them that all of this land belonged to them, from this sea all the way over to this sea. Even though there were Native Americans living here, even though all this land belonged to Mexico, it didn't matter. They said, I know you guys are already on that land, but God told us that this land, all this land belongs to us. I know that was kind of, yes. So that's what it means from sea to sea. All right, compromise. Let's try it again. Thank you, sir. Compromise. I hear you, Alejandro. All right, so compromise simply is a mutual agreement between two parties. If you're disagreeing with somebody, the example I like to give is this, and it's kind of a bad example. I like food. All right, so in 30 seconds, here we go. Taco Cabana serves tacos. McDonald's serves hamburgers. So if me and Coach Jefferson are trying to go to lunch, and he goes, hey, man, I want tacos. I'm like, bro, I want a hamburger. We can't go to his spot. We don't have enough time. We only got 20 minutes. So we got to go to a place that has both tacos and hamburgers. So the compromise may mean we go to Chili's, where I can get what I want, which is hamburgers. He can get what he wants, with his tacos. So it's a restaurant that has what? Both. We try to get both. Okay. Now what I mean by that is this. It doesn't mean that the hamburgers may be as good as McDonald's, or doesn't mean that the tacos are as good as Taco Cabana. So you may not get exactly what you want, but you're trying to kind of come to an agreement. That's a compromise. So it's not compromise. Compromise. All right, we already went over annex means to add, and then lastly, statehood. So everybody say statehood.
Statehood.
Good. That just means the status of becoming a state. That's all it simply means. So Texas got its statehood in 1845. 45. We're gonna be going over the whole week. Don't worry about it. By the time we get there, we go try to say it. All right, everybody, I'm done. You can pick one of these. To her point, is it due to me? No. So it's kind of like whatever you want to do. You want to do a little pyramid, that's fine. You click on this link. If you click on that link, it'll take you to a website that lets you do a quick little crossword puzzle. So even if you do your 6 questions, your 6 words from this week, and that's it, that's fine too. Honestly, it's just a way for you guys to creatively do your vocabulary. All right. So I'm done for the day. Tomorrow we'll come in and we'll pick it up from there. All right. Is there any questions? All right. You guys are free to work. You can listen to music, do your thing, whatever. I don't care. You guys know what you need to do.
These words and
That's it. So the ones from last week, I'll show you here. So last week's words were, if you go down to here, they're right here: plantations, ranching, slavery, immigration, cash crops. All right, guys on Zoom, please look at the, I put in the chat, the 3 points that we had talked about, in case you were late, as far as the class discussion, warm discussion. Those are the 3 big points from last week that you'll be seeing on the test on next week. So just please make sure that you guys, once you leave the Zoom, you're gonna lose those notes that I typed in. So please just make sure that you copy them somewhere, take a picture of it, whatever you're gonna do to make sure that you have those things before you head out, okay? But other than that, guys, you're free to go. I'll be back on Wednesday. So you guys have a great day.
bye. Have a good day.
All right, you too, sweetie. If you have any questions, I can answer any questions if you have any, but other than that, you're free to go.